How can a post-traumatic growth retreat benefit your team or organization? And I'm not just talking about people that you see at in the clinic or people you see in your office who have trauma, people who've gone to war. I'm talking about all of us. We've all gone through trauma of some sort. They say 50% of people have gone through some kind of childhood trauma. I have an expert here to talk about that. She is the expert who puts together these retreats for organizations in healthcare. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe, and I am the founder and CEO of Lead Physician Leadership Program for Physicians. And I'll talk to you about how you can join that in the end. I'm also the Chief Medical Officer of American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention. Go to our YouTube channel if you want to hear a lot of this free videos and advice from experts around the country on healthcare and leadership. Please like and subscribe. I am very grateful for the support. Lead Physicians is all about bringing passion, purpose, and potential back to our physicians to improve our healthcare system. And today I bring on Dr. I'm sorry, I put Dr. Dawn Ellison. She's coming on right now. Hey, Dawn.
Hi there,
How
Elsie.
you doing? Good
I'm
to see
doing
you.
well. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me on.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Now, I understand that you've been in practice for 25 years as an emergency physician, and I just want to show a little bit about you right now. And you've done so much in so many different aspects of medicine and leadership. Let me just show you exactly. And please feel free to chime in a little bit. So you've been in practice for 25 years as emergency medicine physician, and you've been a crucial conversation instructor. If anyone knows the book on crucial conversation, it's like a top bestseller, and she's been instructor to the Mayo health systems. She's also CPC certificate from the College of Executive Coaching. And what I love is that you are using your skills and expertise to really help healthcare professionals on a retreat, a post-traumatic retreat, conducting for not just physicians, but also physician extenders. And many of us have been traumatized by, the COVID epidemic. Let's talk a little bit about this post-traumatic retreats that you're putting together. Why did you start doing this, and how's that been going along?
Sure. So, post-traumatic growth is a concept that first was being written about in the 1990s. And, most of us know about post-traumatic stress disorder. So when I heard post-traumatic growth, that really excited me. I'm kind of a glass half full person anyway. And so that really excited me. And I have thought from the beginning that this pandemic is an opportunity. I think there's a silver lining to the pandemic because, you know, 40 to 50% of us were burned out before the pandemic. And we can only take so much. And I think finally I'm seeing people understand that they might need some help, that they might need different ways of coping than what they've had previously in order to get through this storm that is the pandemic. And so when I started, learning about post-traumatic growth, I thought this would be a really good opportunity to bring people together in a retreat where there'd be a safe space for them to start learning about post-traumatic growth, connecting with their colleagues, and hopefully come out sort of transformed on the other side of this,
Yeah.
learning more about how they can do things better.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating. I've never heard of this kind of retreat. So tell us a little bit about what this retreat is like. How many days do you have it? What do people go through?
Well, it's very customized. For example, an organization that I recently did a post traumatic growth retreat for decided that the physicians could only commit to like 2 hours at a time.
Oh,
So
wow.
we did a two, yeah, which is a challenge when you're
Yeah.
designing something like this because you really want people to have, space enough, time enough to relax and get comfortable. So we did a 2 hour mini retreat, and then they're doing some homework. And I'm going back in September for another 2 hour retreat where I hope to kind of move from here's what post-traumatic growth is and here's some skills that you can use and now practice them during the homework, and now let's see where we go together, how we move forward together, where the team is, people are feeling like they belong with the team. and can lean on each other when they need to, rather than, a lot of us don't lean on each other
Yep.
when we're having difficulties. We're a pretty tough crowd, tough tribe, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, coming out of medical school and training, I mean, just remember we all need to just toughen up, and
Yeah,
deal
that's
with
the way
it.
we were taught.
And we are supposed to be emotionless, and we're supposed to be there for the patients. So tell us, like, some of the top maybe three things that people get out of it, and what do organizational leaders feel about your retreats?
So, kind of the top three things that I think of coming out of this retreat is that you learn how to connect with work, you learn how to connect with your colleagues, and you learn how to connect with yourself.
Mm,
When you have a traumatic event, your who you are gets disrupted. The assumptions about yourself and your world are different after a trauma. And so we kind of have to learn how to rediscover that. And a retreat brings colleagues together so that there's that added bonus of connecting with each other and being able to help each other through this. Because who better than our colleagues knows what we've been through with this?
yeah. I mean, how are we relearning connection? Like, how are you? Give us an example of how I would be better at connecting with my colleagues in a
Sh-
retreat.
Sure. So one of the things that I like to do is compassionate listening. So I do a little bit of a teach on what it means to listen, not just only to understand, but to create a non-judgmental space for someone else to heal. And so we do some practice with that. And that really helps us not only connect with our colleagues in the retreat, and understand what they went through also. And then, anytime you find similarities with someone else, you feel a stronger bond with them. But it's also can help us connect with our patients, right?
Mm,
Because when we can really, so, people talk about compassion fatigue. That's not really a thing. It's really empathy fatigue.
mhm,
Because compassion is, you may feel someone's pain, but feeling someone's pain actually lights up a pain center in our brain. But
mhm,
when you can do something with that, that's
mhm.
compassion. That's kind of the empathy plus action is compassionate. And that lights up a pleasure center in our brain.
Got
So
it.
that connection with others that we learn how to do in these retreats is very helpful. Not
Can you
only
mhm,
bringing meaning to work, but
right.
also, connecting with our colleagues, which is important.
So, can you give us just one specific example? I mean, I understand what you're trying to say, but, like, how I shouldn't be talking to somebody and maybe how I could do better? Not to put you on the
So
spot.
yeah, so I'm trying to think of what kind of an example to give for that. In crucial conversations, we differentiate being direct with someone in a so a lot of my clients come to me and they say, I've been told I'm too direct. And
Yep.
what they're doing is they're making command statements rather than using a little bit of tentative language that can kind of soften how
Mhm.
you
Very
ask
good.
someone to
Yeah.
do something, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
And
get it.
that and then you're still bringing things up. You're
Mhm,
still having difficult conversations,
mhm,
but you're doing it in a way to create a safe space for people by
mhm,
just you saying, I wonder, or help me understand.
mhm. Yep.
Asking more questions is another thing,
Right, and
right?
helping that person maybe, I mean, to come up with that answer that you want them to do. So
Yeah.
it
I mean,
almost it makes that person feel like they're the one who came up with that idea, and you're not really telling them to do it.
right, definitely. Many organizations now are starting to train their leaders to be coaches.
Mhm,
And what a coach assumes is that the person has the answer,
mhm,
and the coach's responsibility really is to ask the right questions.
mhm.
And so that definitely empowers people into themselves, right?
Right.
By asking questions, for sure.
So really, this growth retreat you're talking about, a lot of it is on communication skills.
There are definitely some communication skills, particularly when you think about the listening aspect of communications.
Hmm.
Um, and you know that understanding of compassion is important. Another thing that's important, and it brings back to that question that you asked about, how to speak to people, how not to speak to people, is the difference between recognition and appreciation.
Mm.
So recognition sounds like, thanks for picking up the shift last night. Appreciation sounds like, thanks for picking up the shift last night. I realize that means you didn't get to tuck your twins in.
Hmm.
Are you okay?
Hmm.
So the person that you appreciate feels known and cared for.
Right.
You didn't get to tuck in your twins. I know that you have twins and that that's important to you. Are you okay? They're
Right.
feeling cared for also. And feeling known and cared for goes a lot further than just recognizing someone for something that they did. You don't even have to do anything right to be
Hmm.
appreciated,
Right. Okay,
right?
good, good. Yeah. I mean, that's the connection with community or colleagues that you're talking about. How do we
Yes.
connect with ourselves better?
Yeah. So connecting with ourselves better is about being intentional, being in touch with our values and being intentional about our actions. Um, one of the things that's very useful in doing kind of growth mindset coaching is helping people understand about the stories that they tell about their world, and that sometimes those stories may not be correct,
Mhm.
and that there's a better story to tell that will get them what they want.
Yes.
So, for example, some people might have just had and a lot of times when people come to me, it's because they have to, because they've done something perhaps that has gotten them into trouble. And they are feeling a victim, and they are feeling that other people are villains, right? And so if they're telling themselves that the other person that made them go into coaching is a villain, that's not a very helpful story. In Crucial Conversations, we talk about asking yourself, why would a reasonable, rational, decent human being do that?
Right.
And
Mhm.
answering that question genuinely.
Mhm.
And even if that person is a villain,
Mhm.
it's just a better space to be in
Yes.
when you're about to have a conversation with that person, is to assume that they are a reasonable, rational, decent human being.
Yep. And it's also just I love that. And we have to realize that we have a choice of how we're interpreting our world and understand that we have so many biases going into situations and that we can control our emotions. I mean, we like you said to me earlier that we shouldn't not have emotions and we got to stop thinking that we got to be these I don't know, soldiers going into war or going to work, but instead
Yeah,
we need to recognize our emotions. But we have to understand that we can control it and we can control our thoughts of what's going on in front of us and recognize that we have so many biases that we didn't realize we had.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So thank you so much for that. So finding your fat passion and connecting with work,
Mhm.
connecting with your colleagues and community, and connecting with self. How do you do that in 2.5 hours?
Well, that's why in that situation we have 2 hours, and then we have homework, and then
Okay.
we have another 2 hours
Okay.
at the end. So there's a little more time than that. And this is a start
Hmm.
on a journey. And so I hope that I am able to introduce them to some of the skill sets and encourage them to practice those,
Okay.
and lean on their colleagues to continue that journey.
Mhm. And what kind of outcomes have you seen from doing these retreats, Don?
So I'm just getting started doing these across the country, but people are really receiving them well. They are very grateful to have that time to be in dialogue and reflection with their colleagues. Otherwise, we're on the hamster wheel and we don't take time to reflect. And so it's a special opportunity for people to have that time and that space.
Great. Thank you so much. I mean, we really need stuff like that. We need the tools to be able to be more compassionate and be able to have, become well in
Yes.
organizations and ourselves. So tell us, how do we reach out to you if somebody's interested in learning more?
Sure. I have a website, and you can hop on that website. And if you go over to schedule, you can just schedule an initial consultation so I can learn more about what your needs might be. And we can customize something that will give you some good results.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to show a little bit about your website. Shows who you are and your speaking and the coaching opportunities, as well as I think there's a great section on just you have blogs, but you also have these free. Can you talk about these things that you have you done?
So these are toolkits. There is a build personal agency toolkit, a lead with connection toolkit for leaders, and then a lead engagement and well-being toolkit. These are toolkits that you can earn CME for. The third one, the lead engagement and well-being, is something that I put together after my experience of leading engagement and well-being in a large healthcare organization. And most of these tools in the toolkit are what my coaching clients have found useful over the years. I started coaching back in 2008.
Wow.
And so we've built a lot of tools up for folks, and these are what they use and what they've found useful. So I've got them out there for others as
Wow.
well.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. Your email, ihc.dawn@gmail.com, if you want to reach out to her. Thank you so much for this, Dawn. I really appreciate
You
it.
bet. Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Dr. Elsie Cohen. If you have a topic on physician leadership, please reach out to me at info@drlcco.com. We're also starting our leadership online virtual program, both in group or we could do one-on-one. Go to leadphysician.org to find out more about that. Tell us maybe any last words you might have for the audience here on post-traumatic growth or what you offer. Dawn, I'd love to hear it from you.
Sure. So, one of the things that really struck me as I was doing some research on post traumatic growth was a psychologist who talked about vets who would say that their traumatic experience was both the worst and the best thing that happened to them in their life. And that really kind of sums it up. We can grow this. Sometimes trauma is an opportunity for growth.
Wow, thank you so much. Please stay till the end, Dawn. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you, everyone. Until next Sunday. See you again.